they're
I
totally
believe so,
full
yes.
Oh, yeah, you raise your matcha.
Okay, welcome everybody to Majors and Quinn. I'm Sarah with the Booksellers, and now I'm going to turn it over to the Middle City Readings MFA Creative Writing Department. I'm Eva. Here's Eva. Hello everyone, thanks for taking a little bit of your Sunday afternoon on this wonderful fall day. This is the first of our Middle City Reading Series. Super excited to share this space with y'all. Middle City Reading Series is a monthly showcase of works in progress by MFA students in the creative writing program at the University of Minnesota. And we have an absolutely stacked lineup today. It's incredible. We have all of our genres represented, not all of our years, but we'll work on that. And just by way of introduction, I'm Hannah Gregory.
I'm Eva Molina.
Yes, and I'm the fiction and
The poet.
the poet. So this is our first one. Think of this as like a pilot episode. You know, we're still working on our banter, so it'll get a lot better by the end of the year. So yeah, help yourself. We got more seats up front if you wanna. Or you can always hang out in the back too. That's okay. SRO. Awesome. So we're gonna get kicked off, and Eva is going to be our wonderful warm-up act, I guess.
Wow. Just a warm-up, not the real thing.
You know, you're part of the full lineup. So Eva, my what do you say? Colleague in word science, is a poet and artist from Bozeman, Montana. Her work is in the Agave Review, and she is the author of the chapbook Poesis of the Self-Continued. She has received scholarships to attend Elk River Writers Workshop and the Napa Valley Writers Conference. She is a current candidate for the MFA in Creative Writing and Poetry at the University of Minnesota. She is the fifth, surprise. She is the fifth child of a Filipino father and Swedish immigrant mother, and grew up in a sort of cult. Cool, let's give it up for Eva.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming. As you know, my name is Eva. And I have 3 poems to read for today. I'll start off with something wicked in your dreams. I wore my new mask on Tuesday to hide the erection of my face. Slap, slap, slap. Everyone said, take it off. I wore a fixed visage because it felt better, and everyone protested. All of us are toys, we play our games together. Someone from the outside wrote on the wall, sloppy, hoppy, money cunt in a daisy suit, dream box, Barbie house. We wrote back, can you do so much, only word? Can you do much, only word? Sense is the pudding I made tonight. It's made of pig's blood. No, sense is the toothpaste you swallow. No, sense is the hat you can stack. And you better stack it on the bottom. I wrote for my gold, blue, pink, wet soul. Hole. I wrote to get fed a fat piece of cake. I wrote to catch my husband in the net. I wrote to ascend my meat face, fat ass. I wrote to say a salient thing. I wrote to pants, the capitalist, fascist, socialist, scientist, pig within. I wrote to pray I stopped dying before I said it. I wrote to make love to a sound. I wrote to hurry up. I wrote faster to hurry up. I wrote for your holy end. I wrote, I'm a monkey in a pink hat. I wrote because the war did not end, neither that one nor the others. I wrote so that it mattered, like a body, like a body. I like how people do like the little in-between talk, but I don't know how to do that yet, so I'm just gonna, that's a placeholder. Yeah. I guess that poem is one of my weirder poems. Thanks for listening. Here's another kind of weird poem. Fall apart, fall apart, fall apart. Thick and feathered was his coat, eye of blackened chicken, climbing on a tree root to read the weather from a cosmic egg made of his hands. He sat on the bridge saying, "Do you see the bald eagle? Do you see its nest?" Red and feathered were his lips cracking from the sun. His help please sign dark, markered ink like something whole and wrought. He recited that Wallace Stevens poem, Red Wheelbarrow Glazed with Rain. It goes something exactly like that, he said, tapping his pen upon his desk, where we sat wondering if poetry was interesting anymore. We both thought yes. The minute, though, you grasp it, try to say the symbol is an animal of angels, the symbol begins with frowning at you like you're almost worthless, years old in your coat, when it's summer in October already, and all that seems to connect this to that is the dog's low, punctuated yelps chasing a turkey in his dream, or the turkey's chasing him, whizzing the leash out of its case like a sharp shooter snake. Or those zippers that keep zipping. Fall apart, fall apart, fall apart, says the man's wrinkling brow. Or maybe he's saying, stay, stay just like that, swaying your hips in your long jean shorts, twirling the leash handle in your hand like a baton, spreading out your toes in those funny flat sandals. And I'll keep sitting here asking if you've seen the bald eagle. Do you Google? You can look up the man who sits on the Stone Arch Bridge. There's an essay and an article. Oh, you know. He gestures to the awkward white policeman strolling by, who I think is going to tell him to leave. You know me. Yes, says the policeman, with an open, kind, earnest face you would not expect to see on an authority figure in such a country strapped with the belts of weapons. Okay, now I'm going to read a poem that is brand new to my notebook. Because chaos. I feel like
They turned it up.
So I wrote this at the Mississippi River yesterday. Ode to the Mississippi. We all learn to spell, casting, you do. Me of you are made, what you're made of. Holding in your body, orca's pattern, your surface. This quiet mind of time, this quiet time of space. Kayaking your surface. Two men with glasses and melanated skin and red life vests and kayaks. M for Mississippi, I for taking with me letters to pronounce the length of your cold body. Metro train opening the metro space above your head. All you were was heads. Bird twirl sound like a lilting magic across from the bank where I decide to love you. I weather at your surface, wondering, letting under this bird invisible to me and whose I don't know the tune, signifying loving or signifying death, or saluting the moment. I shape by giving naming. Solving the problem of birdhood maybe, or saying hello, hello, hello. I won't metaphorize you into someone else. I won't metastasize you. Rain already on it. Orca curl pattern light, dance, full feathers of this moment. A space of solemn trance blood. Fingers at my shoulders sucking in your surface. Birdhood full of madness. No one calls a bird mad. This iambic world of movement. Iambic death static. Can't a river die? Can't a moment know? Whether whimpers go back, emptiness of stomach, emptiness of pockets, trash goes in my backpack, glow in the dark poly rope label meaning mean image of a boy hanging by his neck, whimper to the static of your voice upon cement. Your voice is silent to me but heaves forgotten bodies. I also found a rubber black glove and a wrapper for candy corn. Please, my poem begs me, say the boy is alive. It wasn't suicide, but just a rope-themed party. We We wanted to see while we swung into the water the arc of the rope defining Metro space above you. We were a polycule, and that's why we liked poly rope, and our polyphonic noses snorted out a tune we knew, the semi-sense of bird sound. We knew the moment before life could. We were teenagers with the freedom to let the Mississippi love us. Thanks.
Yeah, I got that side. Yeah. Yeah, this is all planned. All right, super excited to bring up our next reader, Amna Chaudhry. I have the pleasure of being in Fiction Workshop with Amna, and she is just a brilliant reader, writer, and I really admire how much momentum and humanity she brings to her work. And so I've only read one story of hers in class, but I'm super excited to hear more of her work. So by way of bio, Amna is a writer and activist from Pakistan. Her work has been published in Guernica, The Caravan in Himal, South Asia, amongst others. Her work has received support from mentorship program South Asia Speaks and Asian Women Writers. She is currently a second-year fiction student at the University of Minnesota, where she is writing a novel set in Karachi about two working-class women who get fired from their jobs and organize a citywide labor strike. Amna also writes Mod Squad, a newsletter that traces a relationship between capitalism, patriarchy, and the culture industries. So let's give it up for Amna.
Okay, so we were here last year and I read from my novel, and I'm also going to read from my novel this year. So hopefully next year I will read something new. Don't hold me to that. I'm just gonna put this down. Over the summer I wrote a new well, it was very painful. I revised my novel quite a bit and I wrote a new first part, so I'm going to read a little bit of that first part and I'm going to start from chapter 3. The only thing you need to know, any context that you need, is that Mona and Neelam are two best friends and they work at a beauty parlor together, and the beauty parlor is set in Karachi.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago, there were 6 of them squeezed into the house. Mona and the 3 older sisters in one room, their mother and father in the other, along with a television, sofa set, and sewing machine. Whenever Mona thought about her childhood, all she could recall were her limbs bumping against the limbs of her sisters as they slept and woke, got ready for school, and did their homework in the evenings. All fights were centered around the moment when someone, usually Mona, splayed out, imposing on another's hard-won space. There was a period in which a cousin joined them, child in tow, and 8-year-old Mona watched as the cousin slept with her baby cuddled into her stomach, careful not to take up more space than was necessary. When Mona's eldest sister whined that they didn't have the means to become a charity house, their mother gave her a tight slap and nobody risked unzipping their mouths over it again. The cousin soon left and went back to her husband. Her departure led to others. First, the eldest sister was married off, then the next. At Mona's youngest sister's wedding, her aunts asked if her mother was in her senses. How could she be stupid enough to marry her youngest off first when Mona was 3 years older than her? The other 3 are meek like their father. May his soul rest in peace, Mona's mother retorted. He'd been thrown from his motorcycle a couple of years prior and hit his head on the curb. You tell me how I should marry off a girl who never listens to anyone. She'll be back here in less than a month. Having given away her last sister and with the wedding guests all gone, Mona and her mother woke up one morning to find that it was just them left in the house. Together they cleaned out the grimy terrace next to the kitchen and plugged in clay pots to grow coriander and mint. The herbs got the best of the sun and thrived, growing so rapidly they blocked part of the kitchen window. Mona bought her mother a clothing rack so that the floor of their house was no longer strewn with plastic shopping bags stuffed with clothes that had been sent for mending and altering. When relatives came over, they remarked at how spacious the house now looked. 2 big rooms and a kitchen for just the 2 of you, living so kulla, they said, and Mona's mother always swore they were raging with jealousy on the inside. On Monday morning, Mona cast a wistful glance at the row of colorful shalwar suits hanging in her wardrobe before putting on the new uniform. Even on a mild February day, the stiff fabric sought out the humidity in the air and made the sweat gather under her armpits. She did her makeup, applying her usual generous amounts of foundation, blush, and mascara, and then stepped back to survey herself in the full-length mirror she brought from nursery last year. Her mother would be sure to pass a comment about how the light color of the uniform suited her dark skin. Mona's insistence on wearing vibrant pinks and purples was a sore point between them. There weren't too many people out on the streets of Joseph Colony just yet, which meant there was no obligation for Mona to stop and chat with anyone. Still, she wanted to be safe and avoid any early morning churchgoers, so she took a shortcut through an alley and walked the narrow path till the church was behind her. Some of the women in her mother's church group never let her go without passing a comment about her age. Over 30 and not married yet, get a book on girl, they'd nod their heads towards any man who happened to be in the vicinity. It was enough to ruin anyone's morning. On the other side of the main road, the van driver waved at her impatiently with one ear glued to his cell phone. She took her time. It pleased her to make him wait. There was an empty seat near the window which she claimed at once, plugging her headphones into her ears as soon as she sat down. Her neighbor, Shabano, took this van too but was nowhere to be seen today. Maybe it was her half-day at Rosie's, the fancy parlor where she now worked. Last week, as the van had jolted them through the city on the way to work, Shabano, who had graduated from Nina's training course at the institute just last year, revealed to Mona that she paid Nina a cut from her salary every month. Every month, Mona had explained. What for? Recruitment, mentoring, job security, negotiating with parlor owners. Shabano rattled off a very memorized list. Sounds like a whole lot of nothing. Nothing. Don't be stupid. I got the job at Rosie's only because of her, Shabano had said indignantly. Mona walked into the parlor and was immediately reprimanded by Elishma regarding the careless ironing of her uniform. An hour later, she was reprimanded again for leaving her station for an unnecessarily long period of time. The tray dragged itself forward as she styled hair for an assembly line of women who all looked the same as one another. Around noon, Mona's thoughts wandered to Chan. Yesterday, they had taken his motorcycle all the way down the coast to the beaches where rich people lived their private huts. Chan had bribed a guard to let them hop over the wall of a hut that was bigger than most houses Mona had been inside. She laughed with delight at the glittering sand, empty packets of chips and half-finished bottles of Coke inside. Even the water looked bluer all the way out here. Hiding from the families that were sunbathing on their decks, they'd settled into a cove where they could be alone and undisturbed for hours. Whenever the heat got too much for them to bear, they ran into the ocean to cool off. Now the still bright memory of ocean waves crashing against the shore made her smile to herself as she cut the sweeping band against the plan's forehead. I'm going to lunch. Music to Mona's ears. Alishka picked up her handbag and smoothed an errant crease out of her white silk blouse. Mona focused on finishing up the headed front of her as quickly as possible, pressing the hairdryer against her client's ends till each frizzy strand transformed into a glossy lock. Mona's client gave her a frosty smile, tipped her less than expected based on the branded sandals she walked into the parlor with, and ducked out as well. To Mona's said I was looking, the woman put the staff aside and began to glance around. Rosie's was embroidered just above the pocket on her uniform, but unlike most parlor girls, she wore no makeup. The sound of an unfamiliar voice propelled Neelam out of the bathroom, her hands still encased in rubber gloves. Can we help you? She asked politely. My name is Rita and I'm part of the Karachi Beauty Workers Association. I'm here to tell you about the strike we are organizing and urge all of you to join us. Here. She passed around some of the flyers. Mona looked down at the paper that was handed to her. The flyer was printed on sheet paper with black text in bold lettering. After years of neglect at the hands of our bosses, we, the Karachi Beauty Workers Association, demand the following. 1. That parlors be closed on Sundays, as Sunday should be a day of rest for everyone. 2. That all girls be given a proper lunch break of 1 full hour during workdays. 3. That working hours be between 10 and 6 and overtime be compensated. 4. That every parlor provide the option of daycare for their workers with young children. 5. That parlor owners meet with the Beauty Workers Association once a month to assess progress on these demands. We are organizing Karachi's first beauty workers strike. Starting from December 1st, we will be on strike until our demands are met. This is a call to action for all beauty workers. Join our association today. Mona glanced over just in time to see Neelam read the word strike and freeze. Listen, we're very sorry. You're right to ask for a day off and all, but we can't get involved in any of this. The woman smiled at her. Well, I hear you've got a new boss. Your uniforms look new to me, and so does all the equipment. And I'm sure you're going to turn that television off as soon as she comes back from eating a lunch that costs more than what we make in a day. We are nothing to our bosses aside from arms that service their wealthy clients and legs that carry us to and from work every day. Am I wrong? The moment Mona shook her head, she felt Neelam shoot her a sideways glance. So, tell me then, are you satisfied with the conditions of where you work? Please have some water or chai before you go. Neelam ignored the question and disappeared into the bathroom once again. Mona observed the face of this new woman. She was young, but the high points of her cheekbones and the corners of her mouth were wrinkled from standing in the sun. Her hooked nose was softened by a silver pin in the shape of a flower, and her eyes were foxen, narrow and amber. She could have been any of the thousands of women that Mona sat next to on the bus, walked with on the streets of Joseph Colony, stood beside as they haggard with vendors at the Tuesday Bazaar, but Mona had never met anyone quite like her before. What's your name? Rita caught her gaze. Mona. Glad to meet you, sister. Rita strode forward to shake Mona's hand, wrapping her fingers assuredly around Mona's. How long have you worked here? 10 years. She nodded towards Neelam's shadow against the bathroom door. You brought me in. You worked for the Baji and sold you forward. And sold you forward too. I agree with you. You've got your finger on the problem, Sister Rita. She felt bold, trying out the sister, and found she liked how it sat on her tongue, then sprang out her mouth. But what can going on strike do? All any of us can do is try to make some money and get out when we can. Get out? Where is there to go? Rita pointed to the window overlooking the juice joint right across from them. It was always full of teenage boys in college uniform hanging around after class. They sat on top of the plastic tables scattered across the parking lot, smoking camels and loosening their ties. Rita's finger moved towards the band of women in uniform, trying to avoid them as they hurried down the road to the fast food place, where they likely cleaned tables and took orders. One of the boys stood up to block their path, and his friends burst out laughing. When you have your own place, then nobody can tell you where to stand or where to sit, Mona said. What are you complaining about? Rima looked up from the television. She gets Sundays off, she explained to Rita. A whole Sunday off. We should all be celebrating. There will come a time, Rita said, and at this, Neelam stalked out of the bathroom and stood there with her hand on her hip. She raised an eyebrow in Rita's direction. We meet every Thursday evening at a girl's house in Toronto town. There's a number on the flyer if you want to find. Take care, sisters. Rita waved at the other girls, some of whom were now using the flyers to wipe the grease from lunch off their hands before nodding at Mona and Neelam and exiting the parlor. Neelam turned up her nose and looked at Mona. She was so strange. Didn't she seem off to you? Not the strangest thing to have happened here this month, Mona said, as she folded the flyer into her uniform pocket. Her stomach began to growl and she resumed her place amongst the circle, accepting Neelam's offer of fresh rice to go with her lunchtime tray. That their visitor had cast a spell on the parlor was indisputable, for none of them heard the familiar click-clack of the kitten heels making their way up the stairs, nor
is Shane Tarquinio, who is an MFA candidate at the University of Minnesota, who would have guessed, Creative Nonfiction Program, our one CNF person of this evening, so thank you for the representation. Growing up, her family called her a pizza bagel with a side of rice to synopsize her Filipino, Italian, Jewish, etc. background, which means she writes a lot about this convoluted American identity. She's currently working on a memoir about travel, family, and health. She's desert-born and raised. This is her first time experiencing fall. Personally, Shane is my half Filipina sister. She's a desert princess. She, in part, convinced me to do my MFA here, so thank you so much, and everyone join me in welcoming Shane.
Hello, everybody. I am recovering from a cold, so I might have to stop and drink tea. I'm going to move this back a little bit so I don't have to wait. Can everyone hear me? I'll be reading a little bit from a piece that is written about my experience learning how to free dive in the Philippines. Don't be scared. Small ball, December 2022. I waited at the ocean surface. I had never been in the ocean at night, and I only had the light of the moon and a torch to see the sea below me. Without the sun, the water was a foreign underworld. Swarming bodies of fish flickered, illuminated in the torch's spotlight for moments before crossing the border into black. The ocean was dark, but not asleep. My guide urged me deeper into the sea, not farther from the shore, but underneath the surface, to better see the bounty below. He offered a wicked smile and grabbed my hand. In the moonlight, he looked merciless. 1, 2, 3, he counted, and we gulped the air, sealed it within us, and heaved headfirst into the ocean. For a moment, all I could see and hear were the millions of white bubbles fizzling from the eruption of our submersion. Then, in a rush of clarity, the nighttime world of the Tannin Strait welcomed me into its watery mosaic of fish and moonlight and shadow. I swam deeper. I felt a thickening in my ears and head. Already my chest was aching. Water leaked into the mask. The ocean squeezed me from the inside out, and I jerked my hand away from my guide. I needed to stop descending. I needed to breathe. Back at the surface, I was selfish with the air around me, heaving it into myself, a starved animal feasting. The panic eased, and I felt the sensory pleasure of breath. "Are you all right?" my guide, Teddy, asked me. He watched my recovery, calm and curious. "Yes," I said. My phrases came out in bursts between ragged breaths, and I reached for the paddleboard nearby. "I just don't know how to dive that deep." We had dove just 10 feet below the surface. As the oxygen deprivation began to subside, a shamed shyness seeped around me. I did not yet know how to dive to the 20 feet Teddy had wanted to go, let alone the 75 feet that the spear fisherman disappeared to. I skimmed the surface, relying on my snorkel as I scanned the ocean with a mask. To my left, the coral shelf cradled swarms of fish, and to my right, the expanse of dark, deepening ocean. Many meters below me, the faint glow of a flashlight. Through clusters of sardines and fish, a young man slipped out of the black. Stuffed spear in hand, he rose through the surface, breaking away from the hold of the sea. The spear fisherman swallowed large packs of air, 1, 2, to recover his lungs and aching, depressurized body. He swam to the paddleboard, pulled himself up and straddled it, laying down his still squirming catch. I rested my forearms on the edge and propped my chin on them, watching. The life caught my spear, coiled around the blade, convulsing, spiraling within itself, clinging. Do you know what it is? The spear fisherman asked, without any of the boastful glory I expected. For him, the spear wasn't about sport or ego, it was just his livelihood. Eel. He slid the creature off and reached for something at his side. A curse slipped from him, and then he grabbed for the blunt hilt of the spear, the pointy end splitting the stars, and bashed the hilt down onto its head. The reverberation rattled my own skull, sending the ricochet into my muscles and cells so deep that even as I write this, I can feel it. I can see it. The crushing of flesh and muscle, the little beast wrestling death. The spear fisherman set the spear off to the side and raised his catch up to his mouth, pinching the creature by its malformed head as its now slower, sleek, still coiling body caught the moonlight. The spear fisherman, a boy, bared his teeth. He sunk them into the eel's brain. The creature quelled. The spear fisherman breathed. There was mercy in the silence. He forgot his knife, Teddy offered from beside me, not watching the eel, instead watching my eyes. 2 days later, I laid on a yoga mat in Shavasana, or corpse pose, limbs long at my side, eyes closed. Nico, my first official freediving instructor, began guiding me through a relaxation exercise. Once each part of the body reached ease, tension released, I was instructed to take 2 deeper and fuller transition breaths, filling up not just the chest, but also the belly. 1, 2, to prepare the body. At the top of the final inhale, I halted, closed off the airways, and paused, dropping into the body, suspended from breath. They tell you that the buildup you feel in your chest is not your lungs aching for air. This action is simply the CO2 levels rising in the blood as the oxygen levels drop due to a lack of respiration. This, the body understands, and with training, can withstand. It is the bubbling of panic, the rising sense of fear that frightens each of your cells into starvation, that causes you to break open, demanding breath be returned and survival secured. I knew it had been too short when I broke. 42 seconds, Nico said as I recovered gasping. Not bad for your first try. I thought I would have gone longer. There was one more round to go. As Nico once again talked me through relaxation, I adapted. The feeling of panic is inescapable, but what is behind it? What is past or underneath or through that feeling of fright? I felt it that time, the instinctual inclination pressing my chest into my throat as if it were reaching out from behind my teeth to steal an inhale. I dropped behind, underneath, deeper into my body and watched the pressure rise almost from a distance. Watched the panic rise, its threat to consume and control. It did not move me. The contractions were involuntary and startling. 1, I could feel my diaphragm spasm. 2, I felt my body bend. When I did eventually come up for air, it was because of my body's limit, not my mind's. Later that afternoon, the little black bikini did little to shield me from the ocean's chill. I clung to the red and yellow buoy as Nico set up the ropes and anchor. The water was mild, comfortable even, and still at the surface. But without the wetsuit that the others wore, I knew my time in the sea would be cut short. I looked from my recreational use, bubblegum-colored hard plastic fins to the others' slim, sleek, and elongated freediving fins with jealousy. Theirs flexed around the water like a forgiving lover. Mine were as blunt as kindergarten scissors. We were anchored out past the coral shelf. Earlier, as we swam away from the stony shore, I had watched the ocean floor shift from slippery moss rock to kaleidoscopic ecosystems of coral and crustacean and fish, and finally, to only deepening ocean. With the gear demonstration dive. I noted the relaxation, the breathing, the snorkel removal and equalization, the duck dive, all techniques we had discussed in theory, and now it was time to put theory to practice. I stretched away from the buoy. My right hand curved over the rope handle in a loose grip. My back was open to the sky, and my limbs floated buoyant. I stared into the sea beyond my mask, where shades of blue and gray and green flirted with sunlight. This was all there was, an infinite depth of color, motion, light. With each breath through the snorkel, my body eased. Dive knows its own time. It is the diver's responsibility to feel it out, to not let the mind's anxieties or ambitions fluctuate the timing. So when a feeling of readiness settled in me, I gave a thumbs up. 2 breaths. 1, 2. Different and deeper and more demanding of air than the ones before. At the top of the inhale, I sealed the breath within me, removed my snorkel, and sloppily duck dived into the ocean. My arms swanned, my legs kicked down, passing the flurry of bubbles, and my eyes found my line, watched it as my limbs propelled me vertically, descending. The pressure came, and in instinct, my hand pinched my nose. I blew release into my ears, equalizing. My hand remained there as I kicked, following the rope and watching each meter mark float by. At first, the limit was 5 meters. But over the next few days, I would train down to 10, then 15, and eventually the rope would drop to 20 meters, and so would I. At the end of the line, a white ball suspended in place like a pearl pendant. I grabbed it in my hand. My body was static, parallel with the surface and the ocean floor. Here, at the rope's end, where even color abates to only blue and gray, the stillness absolved me of our human bothers. With no breath and nobody else, a different dimension sucked me in. A shady realm of limbo, a meeting with eternity.
Envision all those little moments, your limbs elongating, descending. Up next we have Stephanie Lang, and she is a second-year MFA student at the University of Minnesota studying poetry. Her work is a love letter to her family and an imaginative space where they can be together. Her poems have appeared in Bodega, Masks, and the Sierra Nevada Review. Most days you can find Stephanie either crafting or cooking. Recently, she has been learning to crochet and play guitar with a slide. That's pretty cool. Personally, Stephanie is a wonderful poet, and I'm really looking forward to getting to hear more of your work. She's a classmate in my work in the poetry workshop I'm in. She gives excellent comments, so thank you, Stephanie, for joining us. And everyone, welcome, Stephanie.
Yes, so I'm actually going to be reading from a nonfiction essay that I've been working on. And it's kind of a collaged essay, that's what I'm calling it, because you can make stuff up and you can call anything that you want. And so it's just like a mix of prose and poetry interspersed with poems. I'm going to read the prose parts. So it's part of a collection of, a collage essay that I'm working on, and the title is Dumpster Baby, all caps. Alright. The first time I go to China, I'm a child, barely 5. I remember being pulled by horses in a carriage to get to the countryside, the large wheels kicking up dust. I sit on my mother's lap and my sister sits beside us. My mother grips both of us tightly and tries to shield us from the dust. She takes the journey alone. My father isn't able to take vacation time for work and will join us in China later. We are taken to a remote village surrounded by green mountains and large leafy lily pads. A man asks my sister and I if the streets in America are really paved in gold. He laughs and only squat toilets and outhouses here. I cry when my aunt takes me to the bathroom, used to the luxury of indoor plumbing, and my aunt laughs about how America has spoiled me. The village celebrates our arrival with fireworks. When the fireworks go off, it's clear something is wrong. Fireworks shoot off in all directions, but none of them go toward the sky. The air becomes heavy with smoke, and people are yelling and running for cover. My aunts and her friends huddle around my sister and I to shield us from the strays. Someone yells, "Save the Americans." I remember not being able to see beyond the wall of women surrounding me. When the smoke cleared, my eldest aunt had blood running down her leg. My grandfather sat nearby looking dazed. He doesn't say much. His lucid moments are few and far in between. It was only my sister and I that are left unscathed. After that, we never visit the countryside again. Same trip back in Shanghai. My mom and I are walking and we see a small crowd of people gathered around a cardboard box on the ground. My mom hurries me across the street to avoid the crowd, but we can't help but look at the scene with curiosity. My mom tells me there's a baby girl inside that box. I don't see her, she doesn't make a single sound. A policeman is one of the people in the crowd. No one quite knows what to do. No one picks up the box or the baby. They only peer into the box. My mom and I continue walking. She doesn't believe in getting involved in other people's business. I don't understand what I've seen, only that there are some girls that end up in boxes and some girls like me who do not. The next time my family returns to China, I'm 11, and my mother is a widow. Her old friends greet her in a way that Chinese people commonly greet each other. "You've gotten so fat. America has made you fat." We are taken to visit the university my dad went to in Shanghai. We walk around the campus. I'm wearing a blue and green one-shoulder dress that I've worn only for piano recitals. An old professor of my dad takes my sister and I to the university gift shop to pick out gifts. There's nothing really for kids there. I pick out a desk organizer with a tiny globe and a cup for my pencils. It's made out of dark wood and leather. His friends take us out to a nice dinner where we have our own private room and our own private waiter. Plates of food are ordered for us, and I spin them around the lazy Susan. The adults converse, and I stay on top of refilling everyone's teacups. It's summer, June. Sometimes my aunt turns on the AC unit in the corner of the living room for me. I stand in front of it when it's on. I want it on all the time. I eat packets and packets of seaweed snacks and watch Chinese soap operas on TV. The women in the shows are always crying. I wait for my turn in the computer room, but it is often occupied by my older cousin. Sometimes I play with my aunt's pets. She has turtles, but they escaped before we arrived. She thinks they'll return through the window. She has a hamster in a small cage with a wheel. I play nice with the hamster at first, feeding it carrots, getting it to trust me. I goad the hamster with carrots to climb the walls of its cage. When it reaches the top, I pry its little claws open so it falls. I get bored of this eventually, or perhaps the hamster learns not to trust me anymore. During this part of my life, I test out the edges of my cruelty. At the airport in Shanghai, we are about to board our flight back to America after staying with my aunt for 6 weeks. My aunt, who never cries, and hugs my mom. Have a safe and peaceful journey. Yilu Pinan. My mom, who never hugs anyone, hugs my aunt. We all wave goodbye. I'm 11. It's a school year following my dad's death. I'm in the 5th grade. Everyone at school knows. Sienna comes up to me and says, "Sorry about your dad." Mostly people avoid me and treat me like a leper, afraid I would get my sadness on them. The teachers have a meeting with my mom and I before I start the school year. They ask me if I have any friends, and I say my neighbor Whitney, even though I'm not sure I like hanging out with her. Her parents are divorced and living in the same house. Her mom owns a daycare company, but the kids are mostly left unattended in a room in their basement. The door is usually closed, and I can hear the kids crying from outside the door. The room has a treadmill in it. One day, one of the kids at the daycare gets their finger stuck in the treadmill. Whitney is friends with a boy I like named Tyler, who skates and likes setting things on fire. He doesn't know who I am, barely talks to me when I'm with Whitney. Whitney has an older sister who's my sister's age. Whitney's older sister tries to threaten me with a kitchen knife one day, but it's just a joke. I don't look scared when she pulls it out of the kitchen drawer, even though I am. The teachers say that they will place Whitney into my class, so I have a friend. The thing is, we aren't really that close anymore. Whitney has moved on. Her latest friend is a curly, red-headed girl named Evan. One day on the swings, Whitney says, "It sucks that your dad died, because otherwise I would have been in the same class as Evan. I hate Evan for the rest of the school year and into middle school. I wish upon her a fiery death in a car crash. I know it's wrong to wish that, and I know it's not very godly of me. I try to hide my thoughts from God, which really means I'm trying to hide my thoughts from myself." There's another girl in my class that Whitney is friends with. Her name is Maureen. She's an easy target in a lot of ways. I try to exclude Maureen when we are all at the library looking at books, and I purposely take the books that I know she wants. Maureen is sensitive, a kind soul. Even if I didn't know that, on some level, I must have felt it. That must have been why I was cruel to her. My teachers, my homeroom teacher, my enrichment teacher, Mr. Davis, and another teacher have a meeting with me because I made Maureen cry that day. The teachers are all seated around a circular desk looking at me with concerned eyes. They're not mad. They ask me how I'm doing. I'm defensive. I say I've done nothing wrong. I never apologize. "You were just trying it out," my friend Christy says, almost 2 decades later when I tell her about Maureen. "You were just a kid." Later that year, Maureen invited me to her birthday party. Her mom welcomed me into their home. She gave me a hug when I came in. Maureen showed all the kids her lizard. It was getting ready to shed. If we looked closely at the edges of the lizard's eyeballs, we could see where the skin was beginning to lift off. Alright, so I'm going to skip ahead a bit. There's like this part with a visualization that I did with my therapist in like the current times. But yeah, so I'm going to skip that and just go to the next piece. That's also like therapy related. My therapist has also been asking me to picture my younger self and approach her with curiosity. In my visualization, I'm at school. I'm 14. I just started middle school. Not everyone here knows I'm the girl with a dead dad. I can start anew, but mostly I'm the same. I'm quiet, shy, repressed. I have lots of thoughts and I share almost none of them. I'm ashamed mostly, ashamed of everything about me. My hair, my clothes, I feel like people can tell I'm different, mostly because I am. What I mean is, I was worried people would find out my dad was dead and we were poor. Even though I could get free breakfast before school, I was too embarrassed to use it. When I typed in my student ID number, the price that flashed on top of the register was still $0.00. No, I didn't need people to know I was more different than I already was. I wanted to fit in so bad. It was the only thing I wanted. But it was always out of reach. People could tell I got my hair cut at Great Clips. People could tell that we only shopped at the clearance section at JCPenney. A different session, my therapist asked me what happens next in the visualization. I tell her my younger self usually ignores me. She thinks it's kind of weird I've been hanging around. But she doesn't tell me to leave. She's not confrontational. She pretends not to notice me, but I know she does. Sometimes I bring her gifts, peeled clementines, gummy candy, origami paper. She takes the gifts. She always takes the gifts. I remember to bring more. I see her more clearly the more I try to picture her. She's wearing a red and purple tank top layered over a white t-shirt and Bermuda jean shorts. Her hair is in a ponytail. She reads her book before school in the dark corner of the stage. No one bothers her there. Sometimes I ask her what she's reading. She shows me the cover, says nothing. "What's it about?" I ask. Maybe she thinks I'm just making polite conversation. She hasn't answered me yet. She will soon, I think. My therapist asks me if there's a spot that I used to go to as a kid to feel safe. Maybe I can picture her there. I have a spot in mind, but I don't really want to share. It's a little sad, I say. When my other family members would go to bed, I would stay up late and sit in my closet. I collected extra pillows from around the house to make a nest for myself. I hung up a textile art project I made in school on the wall. I would listen to Mayday Parade on my iPod and write angsty songs about love, even though I had never even kissed a boy at that point in my life. I wrote a YA novel where the main character was a misunderstood teenage Asian girl who is largely invisible to everyone until the captain of the football team, presumably he is white, sees her unique goodness and beauty, and they fall in love. And over time, everyone at school sees how wrong they were about her. It feels a bit painful writing all of this down, but I must do it. That girl, writing her silly teenage fantasies in her closet, wanted someone to see her. She was trying so hard to be seen. She is reaching out to me, and for the first time, I am reaching out toward her.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. It was beautiful and funny and vulnerable. I really admired your growth. Last writer of the evening is our very own Hannah Gregory. Hannah is a trans and queer writer from New England and is a first year in the MFA program where she is studying fiction. Her work has appeared in Electric Literature, The Normal School, Passages North, and elsewhere. She has been a Tennessee Williams Scholar at the Sewanee Writers Conference, a Lambda Literary Fellow of Fiction, and is an alum of Tin House Summer and Winter Workshops. She is currently at work on a novel and a story collection. And personally, I adore Hannah for her wit, her wisdom, everything she brings, her ice cream cake. Yeah, we love Hannah, so welcome to Hannah.
It feels a little odd. There's just so much heartfelt and vulnerable work. Switching gears into something that's very dumb and horny, so I don't know if y'all are ready for that. But you know, this is like, it's like ghost sex, so and I can only read it one time a year, so I hope you're all in for it. So the story's called Fucking Ghosts, which it was published, so smut is literature, so I just wanted to let you know that. My girlfriend visits every October. She died a couple years ago. I want to break up with her, but the sex is too good. She possesses my magic wand to make it vibrate faster, louder, harder. I come screaming into a pillow as the overworked motor burns my clenched hands. She creams my tits with ectoplasm, which tastes like olive oil, but is a more spiritual experience. And I know that olive oil, like really good olive oil, is a spiritual experience, but this is different. Once I made a salad dressing with her ectoplasm, and I had to call out sick from work because I couldn't stop masturbating. My clit was sore for a week. My girlfriend exists without me, but also cannot exist without me. Ghosts haunt because they have someone to haunt. Ghosts fuck because they need a body to fuck. In the park near my house, I stare at a frozen pizza that someone left on the ground. The soggy crust melts, disintegrating from the fall rains. The cheese and pepperoni vanish. The pizza takes a week to fully disappear. Is this a physical manifestation of grief? Because if this is grief, why am I so horny all the time? I don't tell friends about fucking my girlfriend's ghost. We're at a bar when I feel a cold draft feather my neck, reach into my shirt and tweak my nipple. It's her, I know it. So I excuse myself to the bar bathroom. I lather my pussy with spit and masturbate. I miss her, I want her, yes. I feel her on me, in me, possessing me to rub and rub faster, more furiously than I ever have in my pitiful mortal life. And when I imagine a steak seared in her ectoplasm, oh God, yes, I scream and come. Everything okay? My friends say when I return. They look worried. Oh, just polishing the silver, I say, winking. My laughter scares them. I go to a support group for queer women who have lost their partners. It's held in an unheated taekwondo studio, and the only place I can't conjure her. I feel hungover. When it's my turn, I say, I feel like I black out in October, like I'm possessed. When I'm not here, all I can think about is fucking her. A cup slips out of a woman's hand and coffee spills across the floor, steaming as we soak it up with paper towels. At the end of the meeting, children are thwacking wood boards with their foreheads in the parking lot. A goth dyke from the support group comes up to me, sits on the rear bumper of my car, and says that I have a very good aura, very robust. There's a stud in her tongue, and she has a dahlia tattooed on her neck. Her presence makes me feel frozen, uncomfortable, terrified by her, I'm not sure. I think about sex with my dead girlfriend too, she says, and then whispers, all the time. She invites me to her apartment, and we use a Ouija board to communicate with our girlfriends. We circle ourselves with red candles and sit inside a pentagram chalked on the wood floor. Our hands never touch, but we follow the planchette as it spells out F-R-E-E-M-E. What's free, I say. I think they're saying, free me. Oh, I say. She looks concerned and says, if you knew your girlfriend wanted to be free, would you let her? I say I don't know, but that's a lie. How'd she die, she says, if you don't mind me asking. Tragically, I say. She holds my hand. It's warm. It's been so long since someone has held my hand like this. My girlfriend's name was Samantha, by the way. On the day after her Halloween, at her grave, I leave a bouquet of dahlias, her favorite flowers. I cry for the first time since she died and count the days until next October. That's the end of that one. Is it okay if we go a few minutes over, or are people like really hungry and want to go? Okay, all right. Cool, all right. So this one is, I got a little bit more serious. There's still jokes in it. But yeah, this is just a story I wrote last year. It's really just about loving and what it means to be loved as a trans woman. It's forthcoming in the Sun, so sometime next year, so check it out if you like, or not. I'm not your mother, but here we go. So the story's called Four of Cups. Across the bar, you watch a woman fiddle with a lime slice in her drink. She pops the lime in her mouth and her face snaps from boredom into something like, I regret doing that. You're the only trans woman here, as far as you can tell, and you wonder if the night would have been better spent watching a slow 3-hour German film on Criterion instead of dragging yourself to this mixer for queer women. Everyone is younger, coupled, but the woman catches you smiling as she spits the lime wedge back into her glass. Now you're both talking, flirting, and she jokes you look like someone who reads the New Yorker on a Stairmaster. No, you say and laugh. Your gym only has treadmills and you just listen to podcasts. I like the ones that are like friendship simulators, you say. Like, I'm in a room with people as funny as me. Are you lonely? She asks with a gentle, sympathetic laugh. Sometimes, you say, and you hate how you try to be coy when you're depressed. You exchange numbers and go on a date the following week at a crowded Italian restaurant that also sells lamps. Price tags dangle from the chairs, and she asks the waiter, what would happen if someone tried to buy this table while we're eating? He smiles, but winces a little like he's trying to work through period cramps, and says, tonight's special is the linguine with local clams. Her laugh is as inviting as a layer cake, and when your meals arrive, she's the first person in history, you're certain, who looks elegant talking with a mouthful of bucatini. For work, she pleads for money at a global nonprofit that sends toilets to developing countries. Please don't think too deeply about it, she says. The work's not stable, pays horribly, and on my worst days, it makes me a total bitch. Today was good though, you ask? No, terrible. Worst I've experienced in ages. It'll be in tomorrow's papers, she says, with a perfect torture of a smile. I'm about to She-Hulk my way to that dessert cart. After dinner, you split the check and buy a weathered copper turtle ashtray. Its paper price tag tied to its foot and flapping the breeze on the walk to her apartment. On her living room floor, she reads your tarot and pulls the Four of Cups. An apathetic person sits by a tree with 3 cups at their feet while a cloud reaches out with a 4th. She ponders the card and says, maybe your whole heart is stuck. Is that my fate, you say? Because if it is, I'll make other plans. This card says you should open yourself up to possibilities, she says. Recognize a gift or help when it's being offered, or maybe you don't appreciate the options you have in life. That's not true, you say. Flip another card just to be safe. Or try living in the present more. Maybe later, you say. You learn each other's bodies, the folded cartilage on her right ear, her tattoos of lilacs and magnolias carpeting her upper arm, an octopus in a teacup over her ribs, a stick and poke of Marge Simpson above her pubic hair. Her skin is soft, and she says, for the first time you think she's being serious, that she has a 9-step skincare regimen, twice a day. But the way she touches your body makes you feel like a lost artifact. Sex with her is a transference of feeling, of pleasure, of electricity passing from one body to another, as she mirrors your touch, follows the path of your ums and ahs and pleases and mores. She tastes you, savors you, with the same curl on her lip from earlier tonight, when she had said that this was the silkiest, most luscious pasta she had ever eaten. And when you come, you feel like a house sliding off a cliff and crashing into the ocean. With her index finger, she traces the scar over your left kidney, from jumping on a janky couch in a friend's basement when you were a kid. My organs were harvested at a young age, you say. What does it feel like, she says. You hesitate for a moment, and then you say, it makes you feel incomplete. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful. Thanks for the sex ghost. You took something we needed. Okay. So thank you all for coming. Oh, thanks, Yay. next event is our final call, Sunday, November 23rd at 5 p.m. next month. Be there. That's the next reading series. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a PSA. I make caramels, apple cider caramels, so if anybody wants any, please do. My wife is holding them out. Or, the cider got a little burnt, so if you feel the taste of burnt taste in your mouth, that's
It doesn't taste burnt.
She doesn't. She said it's fine. Okay, cool. Well, thank you everyone. This is a wonderful kickoff. Thank you all. Thanks to our readers too. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening.